My parents assumed I always let family come first and moved my unemployed brother into my apartment when I was out of town. But I got everything on camera and watched them get arrested at dinner. I, 31, male, and I was halfway through debugging a clusterfuck of legacy code when I checked my apartment security feed and saw my parents letting themselves in.
What am I thinking of?
Normal Wednesday afternoon, right? I'd given them a spare key for emergencies, except my dad was holding a tape measure. I watched through my phone as he started measuring my walls, not just casually looking around, actively measuring.
Oh my gosh.
My mom was taking notes on her phone, doing that thing where she tilts her head and squints like she's imagining new furniture. Then my younger brother, Cody, walks in behind them like he owns the place. He was smirking. "This is perfect," Cody said, dropping onto my leather couch and putting his feet on my coffee table. Way better than that dump I've been crashing at, and Oscar's never even here anyway, always at the office. My mom nodded along, still taking notes. "We'll need to move the desk out of the second bedroom. That can be Cody's room. Oscar can work from the office, like everyone else." I'm sorry, what? My dad measured the doorways, the hallway, the whole 9 yards. Once Cody's stuff is moved in, Oscar won't make a scene. He'll understand family comes first. We just need to do it while he's in San Francisco for that conference next month. I sat there at my desk, watching these people plot to steal my apartment in real time. And I started laughing. That dead, cold laugh that makes your coworkers look at you like you've gone crazy. My business partner, Scott, glanced up from his monitor with this, "Should I be concerned?" expression. Maybe he should be, because I just watched my family plan a hostile takeover of my apartment. And instead of feeling shocked or hurt, I felt something else entirely. Relief. Because now I had them all on camera, and I was about to make them regret every single choice that led to this moment. See, I'm a software architect. I own 30% of a startup that just got Series B funding. I make good money. Real good money. And 6 months ago, after my mom borrowed my grandfather's vintage Rolex from my apartment, the only thing I had from my dad's father, who actually gave a damn about me, I installed a full security system. Cameras, motion sensors, the works. Found that Rolex 3 weeks later on Cody's wrist in an Instagram photo. He told his friends he bought it with his business earnings.
It's very yummy.
Cody's business earnings consisted of whatever MLM scheme he was currently failing at, while mom and dad funded his lifestyle. I've been documenting everything since then. Every conversation. Every time they chose Cody over me. Every dismissive comment about how I should help family while Cody bled them dry. They just handed me enough evidence to bury them all. I texted my brother. "Hey man, wanna grab dinner this weekend? Been too long." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. They were probably conferring, wondering if I somehow knew. "Yeah, dude, sounds good. Mom and dad free too." "Sure, bring everyone. I'll cook at my place Saturday." I had 4 days to prepare. 4 days to set the trap. And Cody, that smug jerk, walked right into it, thinking he'd already won. I grew up in Seattle as the older son of Philip and Janet Kowalski. Dad ran a successful import business. Mom managed rental properties they owned.
We got this, Steve!
We had money. We had a nice house in Bellevue. We had everything. Except I didn't have parents who saw me. I had investors who stopped investing the moment Cody was born. I was 8 when my brother arrived, and I went from firstborn to forgotten overnight.
Matt, you're
The responsible one. The one who didn't need help because he was so capable for his age. Funny how an 8-year-old becomes self-sufficient when nobody's watching anymore. Cody got basketball camp, while I was told sports were a waste of time. He got a brand new Audi for his 16th birthday, while I worked at Best Buy to buy my own used truck. I got into MIT, and they suggested state school would be more practical. Cody barely graduated high school, and they celebrated like he'd cured cancer. Bought him a condo near UW, even though he dropped out after 1 semester. I worked my rear off through MIT, through years of grinding at tech companies, through building my own startup. 3 years ago, I bought this apartment in downtown Seattle. Corner unit, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Elliott Bay. The whole flex. It was my proof that I didn't need their approval or their money. I'd given them the spare key because some pathetic part of me still wanted them to be proud of me. That key was about to cost them everything. The day after watching them measure my furniture, Cody texted me. "Hey bro, need to ask you something important." I smiled at my phone. "Sure, why don't you all come over Saturday? I'll make that Korean BBQ you guys like." I spent the next 4 days preparing, but not food. I was organizing evidence. Financial records showing every loan I'd given Cody that he never repaid.
You should know.
Screenshots of the 7 different business ventures my parents had funded for him. That all failed. Bank statements proving I'd paid for family dinners, vacations, gifts, while Cody contributed nothing and took everything. But the real work had been happening for months. See, Cody's current girlfriend, Nicole, had reached out to me 12 weeks ago through LinkedIn. Professional message, very polite. She'd noticed we had the same last name and took a shot. Turns out, Cody had been using her credit cards to fund his latest business venture. Some crypto trading course, MLM nonsense. He'd maxed out 3 of her cards. About $40,000 total. While telling her he was investing their money in a guaranteed opportunity. The opportunity was him buying bottle service at clubs and trying to recruit people into his downline. Nicole had receipts. All of them. And she'd been working with me to document everything, because Cody had also told her that I was a trust fund kid who'd never worked a real day in my life. Meanwhile, he'd been telling my parents that Nicole's family was wealthy and he was networking for business opportunities. All lies. Nicole was a nurse working double shifts while Cody drained her accounts. But the best part? Cody had recently started listing my apartment as his business address for his LLC, using my address for business registration without asking. Probably to look more legitimate to whatever marks he was currently scamming. That meant every piece of mail, every legal document, every trace of his shady business dealings was now tied to my property. And that was going to be useful. Saturday arrived.
I died to the fucking turret.
Perfect weather. I grilled Kobe and made banchan.
Can't kill people.
Set the table
I hate
nice.
this game. Hi,
My
John.
apartment
Welcome
looked clean,
home. Did you have a good
professional,
day?
Already hit
successful.
145.
Everything
Set
they
the
tried to
legs.
take. The folder sat in my home office, waiting. The trap was set. And Cody was
you're
about to
hiring.
learn that the brother he dismissed his entire life was a lot smarter
We
than he
get on
looked.
site. We can't even get on site.
They showed up at 6. Mom brought drinks. Dad immediately started eyeing the walls he had measured 3 days ago. Cody walked in with this grin, already acting like he lived here. And behind him came Nicole. She caught my eye and gave the tiniest nod. She was in on it. "Oscar, man, this place looks great," Cody said, dropping onto my couch exactly like he had on camera. "You keeping it clean for once?" I smiled.
One's in their spawn.
Special occasion. Mom headed straight to the
Tech
kitchen.
78.
"You should really get better knives, sweetie. These are dull. I like them sharp enough to cut through nonsense, but thanks for the feedback." She blinked, not sure if I had just insulted her. We ate dinner. Cody dominated the conversation, like always,
What the fuck? They're all there.
talking
it's
about his
fucking
latest
drone.
business
Oh my God.
opportunity,
I thought there was someone flanking
how he was
us.
about to blow up, how he had investors lining up.
John, I had a great
Dad
game. I
nodded
ranked
along
up
like he was the
twice.
next Elon Musk.
And then ever since then,
Mom
we've
kept
lost.
refilling his glass. Nicole stayed quiet. "So, brother," I
didn't realize it
said,
was a
setting down my
drone.
chopsticks,
I didn't know it was a
"how's the apartment hunting going?"
It was a drone.
He exchanged looks with our parents.
I was drunk.
Dad jumped
Okay,
in,
let's just play her picks.
smooth as ever. "Maybe you could help your
No,
brother
we've
out.
lost.
You've got that extra bedroom collecting dust." "The office," Mom added.
Yeah, one-
"You
one
could work
Meerkat
from
was
the company
playing.
office, like everyone else. Cody needs a stable address for his business. Family helps family, Oscar. I took a slow sip.
Tagged a lot though.
That's interesting, because I could have sworn I saw you all in here earlier this week, measuring my walls, planning where to put Cody's stuff, without asking me, without even telling me.
It is really low.
The
so I don't know
silence
why she all
was
did.
beautiful.
One's in tree.
Cody's smirk faltered.
Yours around
Dad's
me.
jaw tightened. Mom opened her mouth. I have security cameras, I continued. Full coverage. Installed them after Mom borrowed Grandpa Kowalski's Rolex from my bedroom. Remember that, brother? The Rolex you told your friends you bought with your business earnings? His face went red. You said those were just for the front door. I lied. And I've got video of
Oh my
you three
gosh, we
planning to
lied.
move Cody in while I'm at a conference. Dad, you want to hear your exact words? I pulled out my phone and played the audio. Dad's voice filled my apartment, clear as day. Oscar won't make a scene.
Nice.
He'll understand.
We got one!
Family comes first. We just need to do it
I'm
while
sorry
he's in
again,
San
John.
Francisco next month. Nicole
No, we just gotta
shifted
get
in
one
her
more and
seat,
we'll be
and I
better than
saw the
last game.
anger flash across her face. She'd been lied to about so many things, and now she was watching it all come together. Dad started to bluster. Now, Oscar, you're taking this out of
26 the whole
context.
game.
Context? You broke into my freaking home to plan a hostile takeover. That's the context. We're your family, Mom said, her voice rising.
You should complain.
How can you be so selfish? Your brother needs help right now. He's building something important. I laughed. Important? Cody?
Rain at
What
peak
business
again.
are you in again this week? Cryptocurrency education, he said defensively. It's going to be huge. It's a pyramid scheme, Nicole said quietly. All eyes turned to her. He maxed out 3 of my credit cards. $40,000.
Oh, now it's
For
over there.
what?
'Cause I heard my
Bottle service? Club photos for Instagram? Your business opportunity doesn't exist.
Okay,
Cody's
you're in
face
closer
went from
already.
red to pale. Nicole, what the heck? Don't. Her voice was ice. Oscar called me 2 months ago.
think yours is
We've been
Bob.
comparing notes. What the heck is going on? Dad asked, confused.
Yeah, I believe.
Mom looked between them. Oscar, what is she talking about? I'm
Killjoy was
talking about your son being a fraud.
Okay.
Nicole, you want to show them the credit card statements? She pulled out a folder. I taught her well.
Oh, fuck.
She spread the statements across my table.
Wait, I thought you said they were
Charges at nightclubs, designer
He
clothes,
misspoke.
expensive dinners.
Okay.
Not a single legitimate business expense in the bunch. Cody told me he was investing our money, Nicole said. He told me we'd be millionaires by the end of the year. Instead, I'm $40,000 in debt, and he's been living like a trust fund kid on my credit. That's not... I can explain, Cody stammered.
The video's really
Explain
interesting
what?
because heard
I cut him
Katie, I
off.
think about the times
Explain
I
how
was
you've been
in
using my
Paris
apartment as your
with
business address without asking? Yeah, I know about that too. You registered your LLC to my address without my
That was just
consent. I pulled
mixed
the
up
public
funds.
filings and
Um,
contacted the businesses you were dealing with. Kowalski Capital Ventures LLC. That's your company, right? The one you're using to scam people into buying your crypto course?
no,
He stood up, knocking his chair back.
This game.
You had no
That
right.
was
You
we
had
did
no
good
right
though.
to use my
That was a good
address.
round, though. We were doing good.
And you know what else I found in those public records? You're under FTC investigation for deceptive business practices. You're being sued by 3 different people for fraud.
Yeah, I don't
And
know
you've been
what
hiding all of this
exactly,
by using my
is it
address
like,
so
how
Mom
are
and
they
Dad
jumping
wouldn't
around?
find out. Dad's
I
face was
forgot that's a
stone.
thing, my bad.
Now, what the actual fug is this true, Cody? It's all garbage. Oscar's just jealous because
Yeah, I did it.
I stood up.
I'm gonna flash.
Because I actually built something real while you've been running scams. Because I worked my rear off while you coasted on Mom and Dad's money.
Nobody on site.
Because I bought this place with money I earned. And you thought you could just take it. Mom was crying
Dad, if you
now.
come decide, I can heal you.
Oscar, please. He's your brother. He made mistakes, but family forgives. Forgives? Right. Wait a sec. I walked to my office and came back with more folders. Let me tell you what I'm forgiving. Cody has borrowed $73,000 from me over the past
70
6 years.
Market. I didn't think that was
Not
because they had the fucking
$1
thingy
paid
on.
back. You two have borrowed another $45,000. Also not paid back. Meanwhile,
Nice.
Cody's living off Nicole's credit cards,
He's
using
not
my
uninstalling.
address for his
Shut
scam
up for
business.
lining up.
And you three were planning to illegally
you,
move him
Dauntless?
into my apartment.
Dauntless, do you love Minecraft?
I dropped the
as much
folders
as you
on the
used to love
table.
Minecraft with all the hours you spent
This
streaming
is
Minecraft?
everything. Every loan, every lie,
All over
every time you
the
chose him
world. Guys,
over
we're doing
me.
better than the
Every
round
time you
road,
told
yay.
me to be more understanding, while he took advantage of everyone around him. Cody was sweating.
Ban you.
Now you can't prove any of this. Means I can prove all of it. Bank transfers, text messages, emails, recorded conversations. And the best part? Nicole's lawyer is filing a civil suit against you for fraud. The FTC is investigating your deceptive business practices, and you've been using my address as your
Okay,
business
Dash.
registration without my
Switch
consent.
guns.
That's going to look real good when the feds start asking questions about mail fraud. Dad finally found his voice, but it was shaky. Oscar, son, I think you're overreacting. This is still family. No, I said. Family doesn't break into each other's homes. Family doesn't spend 3 decades teaching one kid he's worthless, while the other kid can do no wrong.
Nice.
I walked to the door and opened it.
I want my
Get
credits.
out, all of you. Leave your key on the table. If you contact me again, if you come near this apartment,
Yeah, it's fun as long
I'll
as
file
we
for
get up a
restraining
little bit
orders.
each time.
And Cody,
Must be
Nicole's lawyer is
nice.
casing me on everything.
I don't like.
I'm going to watch you burn.
Whoa.
Cody grabbed his jacket, his face twisted with rage. You're going to regret
God
this.
gamers.
You think you're so dang smart with your job and your fancy apartment. You've always been a smug jerk, and now everyone's going to know it. Better a smug jerk than a fraud living off other people's credit cards. He stormed out,
That's actually
Nicole
illegal,
following behind
so
him.
I would never do that.
But she
He's close,
paused
he's
at the
close,
door
close,
and
close.
looked back at me. Thank you, she mouthed. I nodded. She'd get her money
I
back.
told you it was close. He had his, like,
I'd make sure of it. My parents left slower. Mom still crying. Dad wearing that mask of controlled
gun
anger
sights
I
still.
remembered from childhood. You're going to regret this, Dad said quietly.
Why am I lagging?
When you're alone and need family, we won't be there. Good, I said.
CT?
I've been alone my whole life. I won't really bother. After they left,
Matt, if you come
I
back
locked
to
the
me, I can
door,
hear you.
engaged the deadbolt, and walked to my window. The skyline stretched out in front of me, lights reflecting off Elliott Bay. My apartment, my sanctuary, still mine.
I'll try
Scott
not to lose
texted when
it.
I was locking up the office. How'd it go?
Both flank?
Burned every bridge. Feels
I almost
amazing.
lost it.
Drinks tomorrow?
She's right here.
Absolutely. I just
Am I walking
nuked my
upstairs?
entire family in one dinner.
No, she's
I'm
dumb.
like
And for the first
stuttering.
time in my life,
very annoying.
I felt completely free. Monday morning hit me with 17 texts from
How?
my mom.
They have so much
Each
money
one
and have
more
so many years
desperate
of this
and
game.
guilt-trippy than the last. I blocked her
I have
number after reading the
Discord
first
open.
one.
I'm a streamer. I
Blocked
have
Dad.
Discord.
Blocked Cody.
Close
The
Discord.
silence was peaceful.
My Discord.
Nicole
where will I
called
get
that
my
afternoon.
notifications
You know my
from?
address.
Her lawyer had filed
Exactly.
charges. Cody had been served and was blowing up her phone.
I'm gonna show up to a Waffle
I told her
House
not
near
to
his house.
answer,
Imagine
that the
they're gonna search a
documentation
30-minute
spoke for
perimeter of the
itself.
place that I said.
She thanked me again for believing her, for helping her build the case.
One way.
Most people wouldn't have had the guts to reach out to their scammer's family. But she'd been smart enough to know I might actually listen. The week that followed was chaos, but the good
I'm
kind.
gonna clear that corner.
Turned
very
out
well.
Cody had been running his business out of 3 different addresses. Mine, Nicole's, and some post office box in Tacoma.
It is a- let's
The
just
FTC
leave.
had been building a civil case for months based on deceptive trade practices. But once my documentation and Nicole's evidence landed, the Department of Justice opened a criminal investigation for wire fraud and mail fraud. Federal agents executed a search warrant at his apartment on Wednesday. The evidence they found, fake testimonials, stolen course materials, records of who he'd scammed,
Wait, can
sealed
I
it.
have land?
Scott sent me the news article with the headline, "Local man charged with wire fraud and crypto education scheme." Cody's mugshot looked exactly how you'd expect. Stunned,
Oh, it's gonna break
shocked
the
that
door,
consequences
isn't it?
existed. "Your brother?" Scott asked when I got to the office. Not anymore. The best part was watching Cody's Instagram go from flexing lifestyle to complete radio silence. His followers started commenting.
Face your
asking questions. Then someone linked the fraud charges. Then Nicole posted a statement about financial abuse. Then everything unraveled beautifully.
Guys, they're gonna
Cody had been
report us and say
scamming
we
people with a
toggled.
$2,000 cryptocurrency
Honestly,
masterclass.
maybe I did.
That was basically YouTube videos he'd
closed
stolen
Discord. That
and
felt like
repackaged.
Clip that.
He had about 40 students who'd paid him, none of whom learned anything except how to lose
I mean, I
money.
haven't stuttered since.
They
I
all
wasn't
started
one
coming
around.
forward. The lawsuits piled up.
I saw that.
My parents tried
but,
a different approach after that.
She's touring in
They sent my
January,
uncle,
and also it's
Dad's
an
brother,
AI.
to talk to
I don't
me.
trust anything anymore.
Uncle
now with
Henry was a
Olivia.
good guy.
With how
Never played
desperate her
favorites.
fans are.
Always
Man, I
treated
hate
me
Billy Fan.
square.
I'm actually so sad.
We met for
John.
coffee on
'Cause I
Friday.
literally said, I think I said to
He told
you,
me
like, I was
straight
like,
up
this
that
is
Dad had
like
asked him to
Taylor Swift
intervene,
shit as in an
but he'd
AI,
told Dad he
like
was an
AI
idiot.
Poster, you know?
He'd watched them screw me over for years.
Scary time.
Had warned them they'd lose me.
Heavy B, heavy B.
They
heavy,
hadn't
heavy
listened.
B.
Cody had been a spoiled brat since birth, and everyone knew it except my parents. He pulled out his phone and told me Nicole had
Yes,
actually
one's in
called
the
him,
pocket.
asked if he'd be a witness in her case against Cody. He'd said yes without hesitation. That kid needed to learn consequences, and my parents needed to learn they couldn't enable their way out of this one. He slid a business card across the table. His lawyer's info. Already briefed on my situation, ready to help with restraining orders or property protection if needed. I took the card and thanked him. Don't thank me, he said. Just don't let them weasel their way back into your life. You're better off without them. He was right. Cody's arraignment was the following Monday. Nicole went and sent me updates throughout. Cody showed up in a cheap suit with a bus bench lawyer. Parents looking
Nice.
devastated in the
Oh.
gallery. The judge set bail at
Good job,
$50,000.
team.
I wanted to
Dad
swing
had to
for the
use the
floor.
house as collateral.
Fuck, I'm gonna say help.
The whole
fuck, going
time,
to
Cody
work.
glared at Nicole
Holy
like she'd
close.
orchestrated his downfall, instead of just documenting
No,
it.
like she isn't sure if
Zero
Faith was
accountability.
Play on the team.
Exactly as expected.
True.
That evening, Scott and I grabbed drinks at a
This is why
bar
you're
in
right,
Capitol
Joel.
Hill.
Don't press that.
He'd been my business partner for 4
blind.
years,
Mine's also in.
knew all the family drama, never judged. He asked
Wait,
what was
what?
next for
Yours
me
is not-
now that my
your
family was
tab is
imploding
N?
and Cody
My
was
map set
facing
to tab.
federal
It's
charges.
faster.
I told him the truth.
You look at
Nothing
your map?
changes. I just keep living my life.
I just look up.
They were never really
I don't like
part
to
of it
look-
anyway. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number.
Typically on the bottom of it anyway. while I
Oscar,
look.
it's your mother. I borrowed your
Oh,
father's
hey, I
phone.
remember one match
Please
where
call
you
me.
were
Cody
second,
needs
but I
help.
thought you were first,
He could
and
go
I
to
thought you were
prison.
right, like-
You're his only
second last
family
game.
with the resources to
Jacob
hire a good
Nye.
lawyer. I'm begging you.
We
I
all
showed
worked
Scott the
after that.
text. He asked what I was going to do. I deleted it.
Me when I spend
And blocked the
misinformation on
number.
internet. I think it's
Nothing.
Like all caps, low-key.
He made his choices. 3 weeks later, Nicole's civil suit was settled. Cody had no money,
My Viper
but
walled
my
me off.
parents did. They paid $40,000 to keep it from going to trial,
Yeah.
probably hoping it would
Yeah.
make the federal charges look
Yes.
better for sentencing. It
Can't say
didn't
anymore,
help.
bitch. Haha.
Nicole sent me a message saying she got the money and was paying off the cards.
Still?
She mentioned Cody had
Yeah,
tried to
basically.
blame everything on me during deposition. Said I'd set him up out of jealousy. Nobody believed him
Stuck.
because I had evidence for everything. Meanwhile, my startup hit a major milestone. We closed a deal with a Fortune 500 company,
52 mix.
which meant my equity was now worth serious
be
money,
careful.
like retire at 40 money.
Makes
Scott and I
52 deal,
celebrated by
probably
upgrading our
heal.
office
Hands on
space
it.
and hiring 3 more developers.
Has a guardian.
My life was objectively better without my family in it. 6 months passed. I built a life most people only dream about. The startup was thriving.
I
My
just wanna
apartment
jump.
remained
I don't know.
mine. I'd started dating someone, Olivia,
Guys,
a product manager at Amazon,
my
who
score
came
is
from a
9/11.
healthy family
And if you look at
and
my
couldn't
assist
comprehend the
on Phil's
dynamics
6'9".
I'd grown up with. She fit into my life
Guys, I
Last
saw
easily,
round was
Wadachi Life
6'7".
9/11
Naturally.
Galley earlier.
like relationships
Wait,
are
I saw
supposed to
people
work.
dressed there at Tamagotchi
Cody's
their
trial
characters,
date
Tower
was
1
set
and
for
Tower 2.
November.
Yeah,
The
I had
FTC
North
had him
Tower,
dead to rights.
North
Wire
I think it was
fraud,
North Tower was holding
deceptive
a
business
blueberry vape.
practices,
Oh.
Identity
Sour had
theft.
love at first sight.
His bus
I keep
bench lawyer
seeing,
was trying to negotiate a
just
plea
a lot
deal,
of vape and cocaine
but the
given to
prosecutor
children.
wasn't
I
interested.
saw somebody give their.
They wanted to make an example.
Pokemon as pets.
I kept minimal
That's
tabs
nice.
on my
Blind
former
people
family
be
through Uncle
also
Henry.
stuttering, it didn't work well.
Cody was living with my parents in their house, which they'd had to remortgage to pay for his legal fees and Nicole's settlement. Dad's business had taken a hit. Mom had to sell
Because
2
of
of
the
her rental
standards of
properties.
such a movie.
Reina and
I
20
felt
Megs, and
nothing
Reina
about
didn't
their
go to the other one.
situation. They'd made their choices. Then came the email. Wednesday afternoon, between code reviews.
But she did
Subject
get
line,
overheal off of a
we
wall.
need to talk.
No.
No sender name, but I knew who it was. I opened it anyway. Your uncle says I should accept that you're a loss to us, that you've changed, but I can't believe that. Please
So, you
call
know,
me.
I had her
Let's
down-
fix this before
I had
it's
her
too
down to
late.
75 and
I
way
read
up
it
in her-
twice and easily recognized the manipulation patterns. The old Oscar, the one who'd spent years trying to earn scraps of approval, would have felt crushing guilt. The current
She
Oscar
must have-
recognized
she
it
must
for
have
exactly what it
damage to
was.
heal off me.
I forwarded it to Uncle Henry with
No, she
one
didn't do
line.
any damage to me.
They're still at it. He responded within minutes. Don't engage. They're desperate.
Yeah, well,
Your
you
brother's
should've
probably
killed her.
going to prison, and they're looking for someone to blame. I didn't respond to my father's
because
email.
Of the state of concert,
Responding would only confirm this
movie theater,
method
editing,
worked.
TikTok farming, etc. Charlie
The
is one of
second
the best
email
horror
came a
movies
week
because it's
later.
actually a comedy movie,
This
not
time
really
from
for
Cody
horror,
directly.
so possible people to
You're
run.
going to be in that
Yeah, no, 'cause I
apartment
thought it was
you
like a
guard like it's
documentary
Fort
from the way,
Knox.
like, the
And you're going to
trailers and
realize that
everything,
all
like,
your
not- like, I know
success
it was gonna
means
have movie
nothing
clips, but, like,
without
really?
family.
You
chose revenge
Drop Dead
over
is a
loyalty.
song. I
You
don't know
chose
if- I've
money
never heard of
over
those.
blood.
Like, no one has
I
ever
hope it
came
was
out with
worth it.
the song, so.
And by the way,
All
I
right,
know
we got
your
this, guys.
routines.
Play for pigs.
I know
Don't
everything
rotate.
about your
They
perfect
like to
little
switch.
life.
They're coming here.
Don't think
though,
you're
so someone come
untouchable
here.
just because you have money and
There's a
cameras.
hole in your wall.
Karma's a beach, big
There
brother.
is. I saw it. Oh, they just. I feel like rotated.
I read the last paragraph twice. That was new. That was a threat. I forwarded both emails to the lawyer for review. He called me within the hour. The threat in the second email gives us what we need. Combined with their documented trespassing 6 months ago and this escalating pattern, we can file for a restraining order. But document everything going forward. Courts like patterns. How fast can we move? I'll file tomorrow. With the explicit threat and your documentation, we should get a temporary order within 72 hours. Full hearing in 2 weeks. I started keeping a detailed log of everything. Every email, every blocked call, every social media interaction,
Nice.
building an
Nice.
airtight case. The temporary restraining order came through 3 days later. Cody was ordered
I
to
don't
stay
know
at
anything
least
about
500 feet from my residence
I don't know
and
anything about
workplace.
the last 3
Cease
years of
all
our life. That sounds like you got
contact,
booted up.
direct
Also, hi,
or indirect.
Coldemar. How have you been?
The full hearing was scheduled for 2 weeks
It's
out,
been so long.
but the
I don't know if I
temporary
listened to
order
the
was
rap-
enforceable
you saw that
immediately.
cover.
Violation
I like the
meant
color smoke.
arrest
Fun.
and criminal contempt
Yeah,
charges.
there's not a ton of documentary
My
parts.
mom
We have
tried
Zoom
one
photos
last
and
email
it's
through her
after 2
work
songs.
account,
It shows how
claiming
they
I was
did.
tearing
I
the
saw
family
cut-
apart over
and there was an
nothing.
interview by James Cameron for a
Henry's
second, and
lawyer
that's the
sent a
next song.
response, making it clear any further contact would
excited
result in
now.
harassment charges and evidence presented at the restraining order hearing. The full restraining order hearing came 2 weeks later. Cody
Pushing
didn't
air?
show, probably on advice of his federal defense attorney. The judge made the order permanent based on the documented threats, the trespassing
No one's out
attempt, and the pattern of harassment. 500
500
feet. No contact. No exceptions. Violation meant immediate arrest. I updated building security with the court order and Cody's photo.
I must stay beat.
Andrew, the head of security, flagged it in their system with instructions to call police immediately if he showed up.
Getting shots.
3 weeks passed quietly after that. My mom sent one final email, this time through her work account. Oscar, you're making a
stuttering.
terrible
You had
mistake
101
getting a
seconds.
restraining order against your own brother. Over what? An email? You're tearing this family apart for no reason. We've lost everything. Your father might have to declare bankruptcy, and you're worried about an email?
Nothing I can
Cody
do.
is suffering enough. You've already ruined his life. Isn't that enough?
Da-da-da-da.
I'm your mother.
Guys,
I
we
gave
gotta
birth
have
to you.
this.
I raised
Can I
you.
have someone's
Doesn't that
hands?
mean anything?
Wales
Uncle
is not a
Henry's
good game.
lawyer sent a response that made it clear any further contact would result in harassment charges. We never heard from them again through official channels. But my brother wasn't done. 3 weeks after the restraining order became permanent, I was working late at the office when Scott called me. Dude, you need to get home, like, right now. What's
Go
wrong?
Wall Street or whatever.
Cody's at your building. Security called me when they couldn't reach you. He's in the lobby, demanding to see you. I'm on my way.
Owensby.
I made it to my building in 15 minutes, speeding the whole way. When I pulled into the garage, I called building security. Mr. Kowalski, he's still here, said Andrew, the night security guard. He showed up about 40 minutes ago, claiming there's a family emergency. We told him you're not here, and he's not on the approved list, but he won't leave. Says he'll wait all night if he has to.
We know where.
Call the police. He's not supposed to be within 500 feet of this building.
Okay.
Already done. They're on their way. I just wanted you to know before you came up. I'm in the garage. I'll wait here until he's gone.
He's going mad.
Through the phone, I could hear Cody's voice in the background. Come on, man. I just need 5 minutes with my brother. There's been an accident. This is an emergency. Andrew responded, calm and professional. Sir, I've confirmed with Mr. Kowalski directly. There's no emergency. You're violating a restraining order by being here. The police are on their way. He's my brother. He can't just cut me off like this. Sir, you need to leave the premises immediately or you'll be arrested.
Oh my God,
Let them arrest me then. At least I'll get to see his face when they drag me out. He thinks he's so dang untouchable up there in his tower. I stayed in my car, listening.
What was the trivia?
Part of me wanted to go up there, wanted to confront him,
I have money.
but I knew that's exactly what he wanted. A scene. The police arrived 8 minutes later. Through the phone, I heard them try to reason with him. He shifted tactics from aggression to playing the victim. Fed them a story about trying to fix his family, about me turning everyone against him, about just wanting to talk. The officers weren't buying it. They told him he was trespassing, that I'd confirmed no emergency, that he needed to leave or face arrest. His voice shifted again. Pure venom. Fine. Tell Oscar his little tech bro life isn't going to last forever. Tell him people who burn bridges usually end up alone. Tell him I'm not done. Footsteps.
Nice.
Voices. Then Andrew came back on the line, saying he was gone. Officers had escorted him to his car and watched him leave.
Nice.
They were filing an incident report. Andrew suggested I consider additional security measures. The guy seemed unstable. He was right. I sat in my car for another 20 minutes. Then I went upstairs, locked my door, and stood in my living room, feeling something I hadn't felt in
I was gonna
years.
say in the Discord.
Fear.
See what
Not of Cody
Scully says.
specifically,
But
of what he might do. He was
Do you
desperate.
think Chelsea
And
on
desperate
fucking
people
Monopoly
do
Go
stupid
Scully?
things.
Thank you.
Olivia came over an hour later. I texted her what happened,
obviously,
and
if
she
it
drove
doesn't,
straight
it's
from her
obvious.
place.
Good round, everybody.
okay?
Nice,
She asked,
clean
wrapping her
picks,
arms
nice
around me.
Teamwork. I
Yeah,
love to see it.
Just ticked off.
Keep it up.
That's allowed. She pulled back to look at me.
The IGL or something?
What are you going
No,
to do?
I am the encouragement.
Lawyers filing a violation report.
But calls
Cody
are all
might go to
mess.
jail just for showing up here.
The IGL
Then he
of the
can't
HR
show up again.
Exactly.
Exactly. She stayed over that night. We didn't talk much about it. But having someone there, someone who chose to be there without obligation or manipulation, reminded me why cutting off my family was the right choice. The violation report was filed the next morning. Cody's bail was revoked. He was taken into custody pending his fraud trial. Uncle Henry called me that afternoon with an update. My mom had called him crying, asking if he could talk to me about helping with Cody's legal situation now that he was in custody. He told her Cody violated a court order, that he'd been warned repeatedly.
No, he's not.
She hadn't taken it well. He also mentioned Cody's defense
someone could be
attorney
with me.
was scrambling for a plea deal.
Yes, don't.
The restraining
But
order
so sweet.
violation, on top of the
no,
federal
Very
charges,
aggressive, yeah.
killed any sympathy angle they might have had. Cody's federal case moved fast after that.
Scanned. I didn't know it was
His
there.
attorney negotiated a plea. Guilty to wire fraud and mail fraud. In exchange for 18 months federal prison and 5 years supervised release with full restitution to victims. The prosecutor accepted. My parents would spend years paying
So
off
we're
his
supposed to
debts
do her
while
also?
he did his time. And I would spend that time living
I
my
believe I
life
tagged Random
completely free of them. 15 months later, Cody got out. Federal inmates typically serve about
Nice.
85% of their sentence with good behavior, so the
Good
timeline
job,
tracked.
team!
Uncle Henry gave me the heads up a week before his release date.
Terrifying!
He's been asking about you.
It's like the Travis
Apparently
Scott
went to some kind of
documentary.
rehabilitation
It's like,
program in
Travis Scott's your
prison.
favorite.
Body.
Says he wants to make
And I shot her
amends.
for 68.
Amends? I
So
laughed.
close to
That's
200
rich.
numbers.
I had her
I'm just
70.
telling you what I heard. Do with it what you want. I did nothing with it. Ignored it completely.
Some songs and consider
My
James
life
Cameron
had
holding
become
an Oscar
exactly
award
what I wanted.
No, why is
The
James
startup was
Cameron,
profitable.
like, I
Olivia and
understand
I
he's the
had moved in
director,
together.
but, like, directors aren't,
And
like,
I'd completely rebuilt
why
my
he's so,
social
like,
circle with the right people.
importantly, like,
Then
I'm a
Cody showed up
star,
at my
hella
office.
B.
Scott came into my
Hella B.
workspace
Thank you.
looking uncomfortable. Your brother's in the lobby. Security stopped him, but he's asking to talk to you.
They're on site.
I looked at
they're
the clock.
They're on site.
like
2:40
They're
p.m.
on stairs.
Tell
They're on
security
site.
I'll come
I don't know
down,
what the
but
fuck
I'm
is
not
going
letting
on.
him
I
up
got
here.
around me.
Let's get this over with. I took the elevator down to the
Hero
lobby.
open spawn.
He was standing by the windows, looking like prison had hollowed him
Killjoy
out.
was made.
Oscar, he said when he saw me, thanks for coming down.
Planted.
You've got 5 minutes. Fine. He looked around the lobby. Nice place. Scott says you guys are doing well. 4 minutes. He took a breath and launched into his apology. Said he knew he'd messed up
gonna be backside.
everything. Wanted to say he was
Together.
sorry. It lasted
Nice.
maybe 90 seconds before I cut him off.
Now, why
Nah,
would we-
I said. You're sorry you got caught,
Oh, no.
not for what you did.
No.
we
His
got
face
We
tightened.
got it. Yeah.
But prison had changed me.
Get the
I'd
up.
learned and grown. Prison didn't change you. It
I
just
don't know where it
removed
is.
your access to victims. He pushed back.
I thought it
You're
was
being
all Nash's
unfair.
Body, but
I'm trying to make amends here.
no,
Don't,
no,
I said,
That's
stepping closer.
James Corden.
You're trying to use me again.
Yeah.
I can't be
James Cameron
fooled
is the
anymore,
Avatar
brother.
One. Yeah.
His mask almost slipped. Just for a second.
He really commits.
That familiar anger flashed across his face
Y'all heard
before he
him?
caught
he
himself.
Disconnected last
I
night.
should have
Not showed
known
up
you'd
at
be
the
like
meetings.
this, he said. Henry warned me.
Hear mine?
Said you'd never forgive me. He's a smart man, I said.
I've
That's
learned
when
how
the
to
real
perfectly
Cody
mimic my
came
brother's
out.
cat.
The same
your
rant
cat?
started.
He doesn't
How
really
I thought I
fuck
was
me. I don't
better
know,
than
it's almost
everyone.
hungry.
How
Oh,
Mom
wait,
and
this is
Dad
my love.
were broke. How he
Our
couldn't
cat,
get a
He's
job.
very talkative.
How Nicole
Cute.
took everything. And how I
But
was
he
looking
can't
down
yell all
on
the time,
all
so
of them
sometimes he kinda
like
just opens his
trash.
mouth like he's trying
You know
to.
the difference between me and you, brother? I said when he finally ran out of
You
steam.
don't have to peek at
When I
that.
failed, I learned.
Oh,
When you
okay.
fail, you blame everyone else. He tried the family obligation angle. Asked if I was going to hate him forever.
Hey, I got
Never
there.
give him another chance.
I got there though.
I'm not going to think about you at all, I said. That's the point you keep missing. You're just some guy I used to know
You
who
good,
kept
Will?
making terrible choices. You can't
But
say
this
that.
me?
I'm your
Did we ask
brother. No, you're someone who shares my DNA. And here's what's going to happen now. You're going to leave. Never contact me again. Never show up at my office or apartment. And never reach out through anyone else. You got out of prison.
Thank
Good
you.
for you.
I ran out of
Now go
bullets.
rebuild your life somewhere far away from mine. What if I don't? Then you
No,
keep
how
making
is
the
there
same
an avatar
mistakes.
and an avatar?
But you stay
Let's
away from me while you
freaking
do
talk
it,
about
because I'll
guys.
make sure you
There
always
is
face
Avatar,
consequences.
The Last Airbender,
He tried to call my bluff.
And there's Avatar.
I mentioned his
That's
probation
the-
officer
Avatar,
might be
Last
very
Airbender, they got
interested
the,
in
like,
hearing
four
about him
nations,
harassing the
water,
brother
fire,
he was
wind,
ordered to stay away
whatever
from.
The other one is
That
Earth,
changed his
and
face
then
real
Avatar,
quick.
The second movie
He grabbed
is
his
about
jacket.
water. Avatar,
His
the
face
third
twisted with
movie
rage.
Is about
You're a
frickin'
cold jerk.
fire.
You know that?
I'm like,
Yes,
little
I know that.
suspicious.
We're not done, Oscar. One day
Looks like
you're
they're
going to
mid.
need us, and we won't be
Sounds
there.
like it more like it.
Promise.
I walled off mid-A.
He stared at me for a long moment.
They were just, like,
Screw
waiting for
you,
us to
he
push.
finally said.
Oh, you're
Right back at you, little brother. He turned and walked out.
Two.
I watched him cross the street,
They're
get
all
into a
market.
beat-up car, and drive away. I went back upstairs. Scott was waiting at my desk. Think he'll try again? Nope. He knows I'll have him arrested. He's not stupid enough to go back to prison. Scott nodded. Good,
But yeah,
because we have
there
that
were
investor
parts of
meeting
these
in an
I wish could
hour,
hit
and I
emotion,
need
but
you
instead I was
focused.
annoyed and over.
I will be. I hung up and looked around. This was my life now. Built from scratch. Earned through years of work. Protected by boundaries I'd learned to enforce. My brother would probably try again eventually. Maybe through my parents.
Not made.
Maybe through some mutual acquaintance. Maybe through a desperate email or phone call years from now when he hit rock bottom again. And I'd ignore it, block it, delete it, because I'd learned
got
the
this,
most
I believe.
important lesson. Some people will take everything you have and still believe they deserve more.
I'm gonna stop calling.
The only way to protect yourself is to cut them off completely. Build a life they
Three
can't
hits?
access
Damn.
and thrive in spaces they
beers be
can't
hidden.
invade. That was the only
Instead I was
revenge
annoyed and
that
overstimulated, so I
mattered.
didn't feel- Were you